Recording live from the E. Haley Memorial Studios, straight out of Elmont, Ontario, it's time for This Death Clock Has 60 Minutes, your one and only weekly Warmahordes news broadcast. It's 8 p.m. Wednesday night, the beers are cold, the news is fresh, and the death clock starts now.
And welcome to Moose Machine. This is another one of our episodes without Richardson, but we have replaced him with not one but two guests tonight. We've got a really great episode coming up, so let's introduce people. As always, in the chair here, whether we like it or not, is Maelstrom.
Yes, I am here. Whether you like it or not.
Well, when we're
in my house.
Yeah, I was going to say, when we're in your house, it is sometimes important
That's right.
to have that person around. At least you get him on the stream just so he feels like he's doing something. Right?
Yeah, exactly.
On our remote connection, we have two people.
We do.
We have Tim Banky. Say hello.
Hello.
And Matt Clark. These two are the people responsible for the Southern Ontario Open, which we're going to be talking a lot about in a little bit. We're going to get through some news first, maybe focus a little bit on some of the weird terms that you may come across when you're just starting to play War Machine. We've had a couple people ask about these in the past, weird things like tar pits, threat ranges, board control or a control. What's the difference between a control caster and a regular caster? So we're going to go over some of that, and then we're going to get right into it. So without any further ado, let's take a look at the
news for the week.
News.
What do we got, George? What do we got?
So this week, there was a lot going on. We had April 1st in there. We just had Adepticon go past. We have to do a big shout out to Jason Watt for actually managing to take Convergence all the way. Again, I believe he's been doing really well. He's been championing Convergence. Tim, do you know what lists he brought?
Axis Tier and LeConte. I say with confidence, those are the two lists he played at Gen Con when I was judging him there. I'm fairly certain he was playing Axis Tier and LeConte again.
I know it was definitely Axis Tier. I don't remember what his other list was, but I think it was LeConte.
Well, I feel like with ADR, it was LeConte.
Yeah, with ADR, I would think so. COC has a special place in my heart. I absolutely love the faction, and it's really great to see someone really taking what is a very, very limited faction that hasn't gotten a model for, a year and a half or something now?
Apparently it's because they don't need it.
Yeah, apparently you can just go all the way with what you've got now. I personally am really waiting for the double kit to come out for the Prime Axiom and the Prime Conflux, if I haven't gotten that wrong. And it will be something that I think will be a lot of fun. Next up, we did have a new caster spoiled. I say a new caster. There's been a lot of versions of her before.
That's how she gets +2 Fury in her feat turn.
Yeah. And her feat turn does not end.
No.
Yeah, no.
Because if we have a broken caster, we know it's time for a new Haley. So Haley for the attack of the 50-foot Haley has come out.
56 and I'm a 2.
She is the April Fool's joke from Privateer Press. Unfortunately, she would have been an amazing caster to play otherwise.
Then you would have been able to play DNC1 in Signar, right, Mark?
And she has some of the most, I would say, entertaining spells. Balance was obviously not something they were thinking about, but it is really fun. I would highly encourage you to go and check out the hugely epic Haley. And they actually even had some shots of her represented by the statue, the Haley. I think it's a resin pre-painted statue. It looks gorgeous.
Statue. That's really nice. I've got one on my desk at work.
Yeah, they are absolutely gorgeous. So if you want a bit of a chuckle, or if you're a Signar player bemoaning the fact that the Haley 2 nerf hit you so bad. Just put that out on the table and watch everybody yell
Well,
and
she works
scream
for
at you.
everybody, doesn't she?
Yeah,
She works for everybody,
she is
so
in your faction,
everybody
whatever
start-
your faction is.
Start proxying.
I played a game with her.
Oh yeah,
Start proxying it.
It was fun. For me. No one else.
Bazooka or whatever that
Yeah.
spell's called.
yeah,
And
POW
it's like Chain
14.
Lightning, but like 2d6.
Yeah, it's
She has the totally nerfed spell. Models lose 3 on their stats in the control area. Yeah. She's really dumb. But take a squire so you get the extra control area.
well, yeah, of course she needs it. So the Team Canada measuring sets actually have come out. I would highly encourage you, if you want to support the Canadian WTC team, to get out and purchase some of these. I really like the design this year, which is gonna make me, buy another set of the
Even
Team
if you-
Canada WTC measuring sets.
Even if you don't want to support Team Canada, they're beautiful measuring sets. So
there you go. Or if you don't need another measuring set, but you really
Right.
want to support Team Canada,
Yep.
I would say get out there and purchase lots.
Yep. Or
Buy
if you know somebody whose birthday is coming up.
buy 2, they're small.
Yes, exactly.
Exactly.
Supports that team.
Yeah.
We like that previous set, I'll probably replace them with the new set.
I don't know. I've got my gold set that I don't really want to give up.
I'm not going to get rid of my gold set. They're really nice. But I'll probably buy this new set anyway just because it's good.
Have you guys seen the collector's bust that was released this weekend at
Yeah,
Adepticon?
the Scar.
Yeah.
Scar.
It was
Yeah.
really nice. There was a painted one that I think Dallas was showing off at Adepticon. It looked really nice.
Now, isn't there some kind of contest going on with that as well?
The no quarter painting contest.
Yeah.
Bust or bust, I think. Or something
Yeah, I think
cleverer than
it
that.
was a no quarter one for sure. I don't know what the details of it are.
Yeah.
Because no ability to enter painting contests.
Well, the War Machine Baited News Channel probably knows all about it. Segue.
There is that contest coming up. I know there's a bunch of people actually looking into painting those. I know that there's one coming for Richardson. He's going to take a shot at it. So we'll have to get him to take lots of pictures and see what shows up. The last one for today that really came up is there was a bunch of information put out from Privateer Press about online stores.
Giggle, giggle.
So, Tim, can you quickly outline or broadly outline what was put out
gist.
there?
So Privateer Press put out a policy change that is not dissimilar to policy changes put out by Games Workshop a handful of years ago, and Fantasy Flight Games, by extension Asmodee Games, who now owns Mayfair, which is Settlers of Catan, Netrunner, Game of Thrones card game, largest conglomerate of games. Both of those companies, who are much bigger than Privateer Press, have had a policy like this for some time. Privateer Press used some vocabulary around it that they drew some criticism for, but in terms of broad strokes, the policy says if you are dramatically undercutting the market via the channel of higher volume online sales, then you are, because you are doing so with a lower overhead cost than brick and mortar stores, considered to be a free rider, a list that they're making in-house privately and not disclosing, saved to distributors who are then educated about these people, asked not to provide them with product, on the understanding that if they do provide product to these free riders, Privateer Press can't legally prevent them from doing so, but they can delay the new releases that they receive, and by that means force every distributor to not sell to such free riding companies.
So-
Yeah, there's obviously a lot of opinions on the subject. People who have long, strong international presence, who rely on online retailers to receive their product in their countries, find criticism about it. There are players who believe that access to the game is something that they should have regardless of income, which is a bit of a questionable argument morally, and those players are now going to have to look at the secondary market instead of these heavily discounting online stores. As someone fairly directly involved with a local gaming store from the business perspective, I can tell you it is absolutely essential that MSRP margin be preserved for the health and continued existence of local gaming stores. It's not possible to offer the kind of discounts that you see on broad online retailers at a local gaming store when you have to pay $6,000 or $7,000 of rent a month. Not every local gaming store is made equal. There are great local gaming stores that should be supported. There are also local gaming stores that have made no effort to stock privateer press or to support local communities. And a lot of people feel like this policy is a bit too broad in its strokes and that it's a bit unreasonable to the people who are not getting the benefit of a good local gaming store but are now forced to still pay the MSRP that people who would are getting. It's obviously something that has some strong emotions. I'm personally a fan of the policy, but obviously I am very involved in playing War Machine at a local gaming store. A lot of people play War Machine only in their basements, and for those folks, this policy might not be seen as advantageous.
So one of the worrying things that I've heard people, most people support this in one way or another. There, as you said, there are outliers, people who can't get to a local gaming store or people who are international that have to order their models, and they're more or less annoyed based on what they see. But what the one worry I have heard from even people who do support this quite heavily is the fact that if you have one of these places that is still selling and their supplier continues to supply them, and then that supplier starts to get a slowdown on new models, say, what about all the other stores who are caught in that, right? In some places like, I know some places in the US and Canada where there's basically one big distributor who does a grand total or a grand amount of the selling of War Machine to the stores. If they're suddenly slowed down, everybody else is going to get sort of caught in that bubble.
I think that's a perspective that misunderstands a little bit about how the market works. In Canada, there are two extremely large distributors of War Machine, accessible to anybody across the country. Those are, if anyone knows, Universal Distribution in Montreal and Lion Rampant Distribution in Brantford, Ontario. They both have the entire catalog of War Machine, have for a very long time, and are currently adhering to the free rider policy in all its glory. So both of those places are going to have deep stock of the entire range, and there shouldn't be any issue for anybody who, I don't know, doesn't have bad credit with those places or a long history of, I don't know, stepping on their toes. Any store that's capable of getting Fantasy Flight Games products, which are exclusive to Lion Rampant, is certainly capable of getting any War Machine products. Anybody who gets sports trading cards can get Privateer Press products from Universal because they're the exclusive for most sports card distribution in Canada. I think in Canada, this doesn't feel like a problem. In the States, there's like almost 20 distributors of Privateer Press product that stock the range quite deeply, at least 5 of which are like big and broad enough to catalog anyone's needs.
They might have their preferred distributor for various
That's
reasons.
true, yeah.
But
Terms, extension of credit, just like having a rep that you like. Those are a lot of good reasons to have a preferred distributor, and maybe like, I can't order with my favorite anymore. They only stock a bit of the range, and they've decided to be the one who supplies to free riders. Well, that is the purpose of the policy. Privateer Press is trying to encourage you to go with the people who are sticking to their rules.
the other thing is that Privateer Press doesn't directly sell to stores or to the public. So, well, they have like their limited time things, like their bundles and their parts and things like that. But
Yeah, they do actually sell to. You can apply to be an international distributor, and then you get direct sales from Privateer Press.
But for the vast majority of people,
Primarily,
they
yeah.
sell to distributors. So distributors are the only way that they have to sort of enforce these sorts of rules. So they're locked. It's not like where Games Workshop, had their own direct stores and their online model, and then they also had like a third-party distribution system where they could enforce rules from their own stores as well as on the distributors. They only have like these distributors who are selling things as means of enforcing these policies.
Sure. So a big part of it is, a customer comes into the local gaming store and they're like, hey, I totally want to start War Machine and play in all your tournaments, and all my friends are excited about it. And the store's like, awesome, that'll be $100. And they're like, oh, could it just be $60? And the store's like, but it cost me $60 to buy the products and to have them shipped here and to pay the staff who just got you really excited about this game. And they're like, well, I saw this online store has them for $60, so I'm going to buy them there, and then I'm going to come back here and play. until the business model changes in a fairly fundamental way, these are the kind of protectionist measures that are necessary to cause the business to survive.
Yeah, I think
it's the Amazon showroom problem.
yes,
Yeah.
the thing that has killed electronics sales, like in a brick and mortar store, they're really trying to have not happen to War Machine, because that can just destroy an industry quite quickly.
And it's tough to say if this is anti-capitalist protectionism that is looking backwardly at the entire business model, if it means that the culture of third spaces and tabletop games is going to change really dramatically and we just haven't seen that coming yet, if maybe the policy is going to be you pay $100 a month membership to a store and are able to play there, but all of your products are ordered online. I don't know if that's the future, but it certainly is the future a lot of people are talking about.
Perfect. Alrighty.
Did we break? Did it all go to nowhere fast?
No, that was perfect. That was the type of thing we're looking for. It's one of these things where I think most people are supporting this. It's kind of we've had this, sort of a good, like we've had it good for a while, and now we're going to have to basically pick up everything from the store, or at least if we need to order it from a place that's doing a reasonable trade. I want to get out there 100%. You should be buying from your local store. They are the people who are keeping you in tables and games for the most part, and they're the place where everybody is going to meet and play. So I am fully behind keeping them together and keeping them solvent as stores. We can't rely on Magic to pay all the bills. We got to make sure that our hobby is doing the job.
For anyone that thinks Magic pays all the bills, it's worth noting that Wizards increased the cost of packs and boxes a couple of years ago without increasing the MSRP. So margin shrunk on Magic pretty considerably. And also in Canada specifically, the change in the US dollar, but the lack of changed culture in terms of Magic players' perception of acceptable costs has made Magic about 20 to 28% less profitable over the last 6 quarters than it was in the previous 3 years. That means that a lot of people who are gamers who own stores are not taking a really good look at the financial perspective, and we're probably going to see a lot of stores closing. A store local to us that was much beloved by the War Machine community for many, many years just had to close down this week. Ooh. And it's really shitty.
Yeah, it's hard to see. It's hard to see a local store go. Yeah, that's always a really scary feeling, especially when it's your store, like your LGS. When your store disappears, it's always kind of what's going to happen. And hopefully this policy from PP at least helps that not happen. All right, so I think the next thing we are going to do is focus. So tonight we are focusing on strange and wonderful terms that we use in War Machine that new players probably don't know. Yeah. Players like yourself, Maelstrom,
like me, yeah.
who are just getting into things and suddenly have people saying...
Just when I thought I had a handle on things, you guys start using weird terms I've never heard of before.
Yeah, so where you have something strange like... Gaspy tar-pitted me with his Raiders yesterday.
Like, oh, is that a spell?
Yeah, is that a spell? Who is Gaspy? Yeah, who what's going on?
What the hell are you talking about?
To a certain amount, we're not going to get into the sort of nicknames, who the dude is,
or who Gaspy
what's going on with Gaspy. Yeah. But what we're going to do is we're going to look at a couple of the terms,
right,
that people run into that really we should have better explained.
Yeah.
So I think we're going to start off. I'll throw this to Matt. Matt, can you explain to me what a tar pit is?
Well, basically, you imagine a big pit of tar, It's something that if you were to try and walk through it, it's very thick and you would get stuck in it and you would slow down. Like the La Brea tar pit, basically, where these animals went into them and then, slowly started sinking and then were just trapped there until they died. So that's where the term comes from. I think that's a general military term of just any sort of rule where you're trying to stifle someone's mobility. So in War Machine terms, it's usually things where you put models in a zone, for instance, and then you make them either like extremely hard to kill, so that your opponent can't make forward progress anymore. They have to spend considerable time and resources trying to kill them. It could be because of just volume of models, in the sense of like a Mechanothrall horde, where there are 5 points for 10 models, and then you can bring back a bunch of them per turn, so you have to keep killing them over and over and over again. Or sustained attack tier from Axis is another good example of that sort of style. The other sort of idea for a tar pit is something where you try and get to them and clear them out, and then they just don't die. Like Zealots under the Greater Destiny, where they can't be killed for a turn, or a round, I should say. You can have something like Warders, where they armor a bajillion and 8 wounds and tough, and you put them in a zone and they just don't die. Basically anything where your opponent wants to occupy a space and they just go into that and then can't continue making their progress anymore, and they just slow down and stop.
Excellent. So, Tim, I occasionally hear on a podcast or somebody at my local LGS saying this unit or this caster has a really good force multiplication. What does it mean when you say it's a force multiplier?
Well, force multipliers are basically taking the resources available to you as an army and extending their power. To think too literally about this, it takes your force and it multiplies its effectiveness. So one of the ways that you can do that is and the application of that is obviously by bringing more force. The effect of the multiplier is more impressive. For example, if you're playing P. de Negra's battle box, her feat reduces everything's effectiveness really, really dramatically. She also reduces armor and she reduces defense. So if you took a big warjack with one really powerful attack, you increase the power of that attack a bit. If you took 30 Mechanothralls, all with 2 attacks each, you increased the effectiveness of each of those attacks the same amount, but because you're doing it over the course of a large number of attacks and a large number of models, it's more impressive. So you take the function of your force by the multiplier of the force multiplier of the caster, and that's an increased effect. Good examples of this are like Dark Guidance on Scar 1, which is obviously a force multiplier. Any kind of debuff effects are force multipliers in effect. Many feats in the game end up being force multipliers. They're about basically an effect that is global in some way, such that it allows any amount of your models to get an effect, and thereby the more present those effects can be, the better they are across multiple models. Sorry, it's a bit of a confusing concept. I mean, part of the problem is when you talk about force multipliers, a lot of people talk about them in different ways. Like, a lot of people talk about force multipliers for the purpose of armor cracking, which can be something like Sorsha 2's feat. That's not really the same as when you talk about something like a force multiplier like Dark Guidance, because its most powerful effect is that it's control area wide, so it works on more models. So when we talk about that, we're really trying to define a couple of different ideas, but the very core concept is that it takes it's a more powerful concept when presented with more things against which it can apply that.
Perfect. All right. So here's one, Maelstrom, that I think you've actually got a handle on.
What's that?
Threat ranges.
Oh,
what is an actual threat range?
You're going to ask me to explain that?
Yeah.
Okay.
There is a card concept of a threat range, but you shouldn't ask that question in a game.
Yeah. So
Just gonna say that.
to me, a threat range, if somebody asks me what my threat range is, I'm going to figure in their speed, their ability to charge, the extra 3 inches there for the charge, whether it's they have a ranged weapon, or whether they have reach. So add those things together, and
You get a rough
you get
estimate,
a rough estimate
of
of what
how
a
far
threat
it's going to
range
go.
is. Yeah.
You didn't
So-
say push power attack. You're a cheater.
As I was about to say, so Tim could talk for a half an hour to an hour about why this is the worst question to ask and how you should never answer it because you could be wrong. But always remember, if you are asking something like, what's the threat range of a model to your opponent, it's really something that can be modified by so many different things.
It's kind of subjective.
Yeah, well, it's not subjective. There is a answer A from a model state on the table, but the problem is we can't see every model state on the table
Right.
in the vacuum that we're speaking in now.
No.
So you can't tell whether there could be a push or whether there's an aura that if they get close enough to, it suddenly gives them an effect,
Yeah,
or
and-
there's a spell incoming, or, there's 1,000 things that can
And for a new
modify
player
that.
like me, if you're asking me that question, you're not going to get the proper answer probably.
you're not,
Because
you're
I'm
not
not-
even going to get correct
I'm
numbers.
not thinking about those things. I'm thinking about, I have a 12-inch range deck.
Yeah. So, as I said, if somebody asks you that, do your best to answer, but always remember that from the person asking that there's 1,000 things that can mess with that.
Yeah.
So,
Moving along.
well, it's important. People are going to ask about that.
Oh, they are, yeah.
But the concept is such a problematic one that I
Yeah.
want to just leave it where it lies.
Yeah.
So
Never ask nor answer that question.
yes,
Yeah.
in a perfect world that would never happen.
Threat range is a great concept. It's a bad question in a game.
Mm-hmm.
It's really important to be thinking about what your opponent's threat ranges are. Just don't open your mouth while doing so and verbalize that question.
Yeah. So should you be more specific, Tim? Like ask what is his range on that weapon, or does he have reach?
Yeah.
Like rather than asking what's his
Absolutely
threat range, ask the more specific questions.
In fact, here's a perfectly reasonable question. What's that model's speed?
Mhm.
Okay. What's the range in his gun?
Yep.
Okay. Does your caster have any kind of movement-provoking effects that I might not be thinking of?
Yep.
And then if your opponent is like, here's my caster's card, you have to accept that that's a totally reasonable answer.
Cool.
And then you're like, okay, I think I've got a good handle on that. Thank you. That's
Awesome.
That's
But
the
don't
kind
say,
of
like-
interaction we'd love to see everywhere.
Yes. Yeah.
Well, and the biggest reason is because, like, when I'm deep in the tank trying to figure out a way to assassinate your caster, and I, like, find some clever little Rube Goldberg moment that bought me, like, an extra inch of movement by, like,
Yeah.
finding a power attack push that I was like, oh, man, that totally gets me in. He's 1 inch out, and I'm now an inch in. And then my opponent turns to me and is like, I thought you were being honest with me when I asked you that
Yeah.
question.
Oh,
And now you're in, and I thought I was an inch out, and you're a jerk.
Yeah.
I'm going to go tell the entire internet.
keep a watch out for Tim the Enchanter on Reddit. That's where that'll happen. So that's where everybody goes to bitch about War Machine, as far as I can tell. So
Oh,
Places.
I thought those were the forums.
Sometimes they go to me in person.
So Tim, if this is a new player comes up to you and says, I've heard that Haley is a control caster. What does that mean? What's a control caster?
So this is a little bit like asking in a first-year philosophy class, what does philosophy mean? Anyone who's not in that class is going to say it's a theory of thought, thinking, and argument. And anyone in a first-year philosophy class is going to spend 3 lectures on answering that question. So a simple answer to what is a control caster is someone who plans to attrition, assassinate, or defeat your army on scenario by ignoring elements of it, by neutralizing the degree to which they can threaten the caster and their army, and attack only portions of it at a time.
Excellent. I like that. That's a great answer to that.
Basically, the more options you can deny for your opponent, the more of a control caster you are.
Right on.
Excellent. Well, going with the concept of a control caster, Matt, what would you tell somebody when they ask you, the other guy said he had more board control than I did? What would you call board control?
So board control, you mean, so
I
there's
mean
two
effects that would control
right.
control the board, obviously. But what types of things would they be talking about?
There's two separate but very closely related concepts of board control and board presence.
I was going to say that.
So board control would be something like, I'm playing Haley 2 with, Thorn and Gun Mages, and I can do, Rune Shot Thunderbolts to push models out of zones, and I can telekinesis them, and I can, feat to limit reprisals. I can dominate Warjacks to walk them out of zones, and I can just sort of manipulate where models are on the table. Casters like Adeptus Ron are phenomenal for that. Haley 2 especially. But then the other sort of notion is board presence, where you can't necessarily directly impact someone's position on the table in the same way of, like for instance, Butcher 3 can't, control where other models are as easily as Haley can, but he creates a bubble where if you walk into that area, you die, which effectively limits where they can be. Or, he clears out a zone by killing everything in it. So I would say board control is more of a non-violent solution,
whereas board presence is just killing all the guys that get in the way.
Yeah.
When your jack gets force hammered 6 inches into your caster, non-violent.
Non-violent, yes. Excellent. Well, we're going to leave that for right now because we're running low on time, as we always do when we start into a section like this. But now we're going to do a quick look at cons, and specifically this week we're going to spend the rest of the time basically talking about the Southern Ontario Open, which is a big thing that's coming up, and the reason that we've managed to get these two gentlemen on our cast. So we've got lots of questions about the SOO. So I'm just going to start off with the simple one. How did this all get started? How did the Southern Ontario Open come to be?
Well, basically, there was sort of like a long time push, well, not push, but desire to have some sort of competitive events in Southern Ontario and Ontario in general. Like there's been a ton of events where there'd be Black Knight Games and the Hobby Kingdom and X Planet and all these stores that can accommodate larger tournaments, but there wasn't really the same sort of convention experience that a lot of American wargamers are used to, like your Adepticons and your Lock and Loads and your TempleCons and things like that.
I mean, credit where it's due. There are a few things. Boots and Bell ran Conquest,
right?
Which was a larger War Machine tournament that they had some support with, and then for a period of time, the Syndicate of Gaming ran some like 60-person type of events.
Right, but it definitely wasn't the same scope.
It was no TempleCon. It
right.
was no Adepticon. But there were stepping stones along the way. We didn't walk into this and just make everything brilliant on our own. Although we did make it pretty nice. I mean, I think last year was a real success story. It didn't start there though.
Right. So the year before, through some help with the community, I managed to organize a really sort of low rent version where we've operated out of the Legion Hall in Hamilton. We had, officially accredited as a master's from Privateer Press. Did we have War Machine Weekend that year or no?
We did.
Okay.
We did.
Yeah.
We were the first Canadian War Machine Weekend qualifier.
So it basically started as, me as an event organizer saying, hey, we should have a Masters in Ontario, like an actual official Masters. And then the more people started getting interested in it, the more just it grew. I had initially only set aside, you know, like maybe like it was barely
capped
enough.
at 32.
Yeah, it was capped at 32.
It was capped at 32. Yep.
Because there's
humble beginnings.
There's
guys.
very big, very small internet because we qualified as international conventions. Our attendance numbers were lower than American cons to get it as a Masters.
No, so sorry, we were capped at 64, but we weren't going to run it if we didn't get 32 because that was the minimum threshold.
Right.
Oh man, 32.
And then it sold out in about a week.
Nice.
Yeah, I actually went to that.
You went to the first one?
Yeah, I went to the first one, and it was my first out of town con, like a big event.
How long ago was that? Like, what year did the SOO start?
It was 3 years ago now.
Okay.
Was that one, Matt?
Yeah.
Yeah. So
Nice.
3 years ago.
Yep.
And I remember the weirdness of having to take off my hat at the Legion.
That's true.
Yep.
Ask Mark Quagula about that. He loves the Legion.
Yeah, Mark Q does not have. Mark Q of Combo Smite does not have very much hair. Yeah, so that was year one, and we ended up driving all over Southern Ontario with a rented U-Haul van, collecting rather heavy tables from many stores as far as Cambridge and Burlington and Guelph and
that was
and
miserable.
Matt and I spent 20 hours total hauling and unpacking tables.
Basically, we spent all of Monday driving around in a rental van, dropping off all of the tables that we had picked up at various points in over the course of the weekend,
and all of Friday picking them up.
Yeah, that's true.
And that after picking them up for the better part of 9 hours on Friday, we set up a convention hall with all of them, with assistance from 3 other friends.
Wow.
Yeah. Were those War Machine player friends, or just kind of guys you conned in like it's moving day? I need some friends.
Just guys we conned in.
Yeah, promise them like some beer and a pizza. Or
one of them had played War Machine casually for a little bit, but he wasn't planning to attend the event. That was it. Those were literally moving friends.
Yeah.
We were like, we'll buy you beer if you help us set up things. And the first year was nothing like what this year will be. And so as folks who watched the stream last year or who are excited about attending this event will know, we have scaled up.
Yeah.
We are a much larger event now. We have many, many more side events and large events at the event. Mm-hmm. And it will be bigger and better. And Iron Arena is really the best thing about the format now.
Yeah.
So you're saying that basically the impetus for this whole thing was that there just wasn't anything else out there. There was a big vacuum, and you guys just sort of, it's like the whole nature abhorring a vacuum, and you guys went in there to fill that.
That's a fun narrative. There were things, there were stepping stones, but I feel like everyone was ready for this to be a thing that they embraced, and we were fortunate in that respect.
I just remember that it was always a thing where, we would organize trips of, people from Hamilton area, Niagara area, Kitchener area as these traveling convoys to go down to things like TempleCon together.
Yeah.
When we could have spent all these people, it just seemed really odd to me that for everyone on Southern Ontario, our closest sort of Masters, like a true Masters event rather than just a large tournament, was
Rhode Island
or Chicago or something like that.
Yeah, we wanted a Canadian Masters. We wanted a Canadian convention.
And you guys have really come through. If last year was an amazing experience for those of us who went.
Yeah, I keep hearing over and over and over again.
Well, this year you're going to get to come, so that'll be awesome.
So I'll get to brag.
Yeah, so we'll start with some basic stuff. People may have tuned into this and have no idea what we're talking about, and they're going to rush to get stuff done. So give me the what, where, and when, the basics of this year.
April 15th, 16th, 17th.
Mm-hmm.
So nigh 2 weeks away.
Not even
2 weeks away.
Mm-mm.
The Hamilton Downtown Sheridan Hotel. If the hotel is booked up and you do not already have people to room with, although there are folks who have rooms who are looking for maybe extra people to split the cost with, there are a couple of other hotels nearby that you can look into that are also pretty affordable. But the hall is in the hotel itself in the grand ballroom on the second floor. There will be an Iron Gauntlet qualifier on the Friday, a War Machine Weekend qualifying Masters on the Saturday. There will be the finals for those 2 events on the Sunday. There are many, many, many overnight events that are fairly pick up and go. And there is also 24-hour, all weekend long Iron Arena for sweet prizes and awesome swag.
Amazing. Did you have you got any of those Iron Arena dice and tokens?
I do.
Oh, I may have to abandon my streaming duties and try and win some of those, because those are the things that I've always seen. I'm like, oh, those are cool.
If anyone was there last year, we had the Privateer Press posters that are signed that a lot of events got. As kind of an extra cool thing that we did, we had them plaqued.
Oh.
Last year we had 3 of them. They're beautifully plaqued, available to be large wall-hanging posters that you just stick a nail in the wall and hang them up, and they look absolutely gorgeous on a black matte plaque. This year we have 8 of them.
Oh, wow.
For people who are willing to grind out the games in Iron Arena, they're the best reward to take away.
Mm-hmm.
So, out of curiosity, how many games would someone have to play to win one of these glorious posters?
How much sleep don't you want to get?
One of the challenges of Iron Arena is most of the prizes, in point of fact, all of the prizes for Iron Arena are donated by Privateer Press, by Matt, by myself, and by Agatha, our additional organizer.
Mm-hmm.
So these are things of our own personal collection. Last year, Matt and I spent a pretty considerable quantity of press gang points to get like mercenary blisters and a lot of other things that were available for people to win. This year, we didn't have as many press gang points. We were a lot more busy. The US dollar wasn't as great, so we didn't attend as many conventions. So I'm pulling stuff off of my wall. I'm having a couple of local stores donate things. If anyone is interested in donating things to our Iron Arena, it is the place I like to really focus the reward, because it's the place where the majority of the more casual players are doing their gaming. And I like to reward casual players because the competitive players have their reward in winning the events. But it is a largely donated pool of stuff. We're going to have lots of things to give away there, but we don't necessarily know exactly how much or, what it looks like then. So the kind of algorithm for exactly how many points it takes to win a specific thing is designed so that we can, still have a couple of things being given out on Sunday and make sure that everyone kind of has the opportunity to win something. I don't know how many games you'll have to play to win a specific thing, but I know that we're going to make sure that there's all levels of investment available to have items won, and we're not going to take anything home with us. So we may slash the point totals on Sunday if you're still there playing games.
I will put out a little thing for those people who are looking to spend your Iron Arena points. Spend them kind of, Sunday morning, maybe late Saturday night, because I know quite a few people who were banking points, and then those guys who got an extra set of points during the overnight, because Iron Arena does run 24/7, correct?
Yeah.
Yep,
Yeah.
absolutely.
So we had people who were running 24/7. They stayed up. They're like, I didn't make Masters, so I don't have to wake up on Sunday. And they ground out all night. And some of the really amazing stuff disappeared kind of 2-3 a.m. And there were some very annoyed people who showed up
Woke
at
up Sunday morning.
Yeah,
and
woke
were
up
like,
7 or 8 Sunday morning, got down there, and oh, that blister I was saving up for is gone. So watch your points, and remember, even after your tournament is done, there are still games to be had.
Yep.
So you've already gone over what events are going to be there.
There's some specific ones if you want to know. There's a team tournament that's happening on Saturday night. We filled out our initial slot of spots for it, but we opened up enough for 8 more teams to participate in it. I did not put those registrations on the website on the hopes that I could find some really excited players who wanted to sign up the night of. So folks who arrive early to sign up for the Saturday night team tournament, there are still technically spots available that I'm not taking registration for online, but that we're going to have on-site registration for.
How many people in those?
Pardon me?
How many people in those tournaments for each team?
For each team?
Team tournament.
Mm-hmm.
It is sort of the team tournament style where you're in a captain plays captain, first lieutenant plays first lieutenant, second lieutenant plays second lieutenant. So you're playing each 3 50-point games, and then the team that gets at least 2 wins is in the winning bracket for the next round. It's going to be, there are 8 teams pre-registered. There are 8 spots open.
Sounds like we need a Moose Machine team.
That if we can get somebody to commentate, maybe we will do that.
It's a pretty cool event, and I would encourage anybody. It's going to be an overnight event on Saturday night. It's going to go to the wee hours of the morning. It might be a highlight for anyone who wants to be involved in it. I mentioned already the Iron Gauntlet and the Masters. Iron Gauntlet is on the Friday. It is fully painted required. So anybody who doesn't have fully painted armies, you've got a couple of weeks left to make that happen
3
for yourself.
lists fully painted.
3 lists fully painted required. And we do a check of all 3 lists at the beginning of the event, although you are only required to play 2 of them to be able to make Gauntlet rounds come the end. You do still have to have all 3 of them fully painted. We also have, on Friday night, we have a spell draft. We have Speed Machine again on Saturday night. That's going to be running at the same time as the team tournament and was enormously popular last year.
Yeah.
We might run 2 heats of that. It's not yet decided.
They go by pretty quickly. So.
They do. They're 20 minutes.
Yeah.
It's a fast, furious, and fun event. If you've never played in a tournament before, this is the best event to jump into it with. We also have a Guild Ball event going on at Friday. If anyone has played Guild Ball before, tell me. I've never played it. I have no idea how the rules work. But it's enormously popular, and RJ is running that event for us. He's put a ton of effort into coordinating it, and folks who have questions about it should message him directly, or message me if you don't know his last name, and I'll connect you with him. He is put a lot of passion into this, so we're really excited to see what Guild Ball is like at the Southern Ontario Open. We're also going to have a schedule for people playing Iron Arena games using Guild Ball. Guild points for getting your first demo of Guild Ball, and then you'll have a sort of smaller number of points accumulated for playing Guild Ball games over the course of the weekend. So folks who are playing in the Guild Ball tournament on Friday, who really just want to have a weekend full of Guild Ball, we have the venue for you.
Well, that's something that I will have to transmit to my local meta, because we have quite a significant amount of players here who play both War Machine and Guild Ball. Mostly, I have seen this happen a couple of times now, where people, depending on where their status is in the tournament, will occasionally dice off their game and then set up a game of Guild Ball right on the table. So I will let the locals know that Guild Ball is an option, and hopefully that you see as good a turnout as you have for all the War Machine stuff.
Do not ship captain crew your game on the stream. Ship captain crew the finals game. Otherwise, enjoy your Guild Ball.
Yeah.
So
it has, and it can be a problem.
So with an event of this size, do you have an idea of kind of the amount of numbers? There's a lot of the amount of numbers of people is what I meant to say. There's some people who won't know what the scale is of the Southern Ontario Open. You talked about it starting off where you just needed to get that 32 players in the hall. So what kind of amounts of players are you seeing, like maybe last year, and what you're kind of expecting for this year? Not looking for anything specific. We're just, sort of order of magnitude so that people know.
Yep.
So last year we had about 150 people, I think, overall. This year, I haven't checked the actual totals yet, but I think between like the additional signups from Netrunner and Guild Ball and things like that, I think we're closing in on 200.
Wow.
So where do you put 200 people? Because you mentioned that it was in a hotel. So
right.
what does that play space look like?
Yeah. So a little discussion of layout is good. Last year, it's also worth noting that we had a pretty substantial number of people who signed up either the week of or like on site. So those numbers may even be conservative. We have what's called the Grand Ballroom at the Hamilton Downtown Sheridan. If you're hosting a wedding for 200 or 300 people, they give you 2/3 of that room. So imagine a large wedding that you may have attended in the past, and just add on another third as much space. Replace all of the round, nicely prepared tables
and the dance floor.
finished covers, and the dance floor.
Oh, no dance floor?
A lot of 4x4 table toppers on top of a fairly substantial number of tables with a reasonable amount of spacing.
Yeah.
Nice.
A pretty large side area on which we have open gaming, a board game library, a couple of Netrunner tournaments going on over the course of the weekend, and then add an outside hallway fully stocked with water and ice for people to drink all weekend so
Oh, thank
you can
God.
stay hydrated. Large, full windows that look onto the outside, and we're set up on that area, including Muse on Minis. One of our local shops, Black Knight Games, will be vending things. We also have some historical hobbyists who will be vending models they've got out there.
Cool.
There's going to be a lot of folks there selling stuff, so if you are excited to pick up something you might not have been able to get locally, or to get something that maybe makes a really positive convention experience, like a copy of the game Werewolf or Coup or any of the cool board games that are fun to play in that environment, there'll be an opportunity to do that
Yeah,
as
I
well.
recommend you get one of those games.
Yeah. And Werewolf at a convention at about 3 in the morning is probably the most fun you can have without taking your clothes off.
Well, I'm not sure how you play Werewolf.
So we've talked about all the awesomeness that is this event. We'd like to just ask you a bit about, for yourselves, what are the challenges in putting on something this big? Like, it obviously it's a huge amount of work, but is it just grinding it out, or are there weird and wonderful things that you weren't expecting when you got started?
Yes. It's very challenging. Anyone who tells you that this is an experience that's easy or profitable or fun has never done any part of it before. It has been a loss for Matt and I in the first 2 years. In the first year, we lost about $1,000 in terms of acquiring clocks and tables and manufacturing terrain,
Yeah.
and putting ourselves in a position where we were prepared to do it the next year. The next year, we scaled up quite substantially. We ended up each losing about $300 all totaled. And honestly, it would have been more than that if a very generous friend of ours in the War Machine community hadn't just walked up to us the day of and said, "You guys are doing an amazing job. Here's a fistful of cash." And those kind of charitable acts are the things that honestly get us through the event. 3 days before the Southern Ontario Open last year, I think Matt and I were both looking at each other saying, like, does your gun taste funny today?
Yeah.
And, we were 100% sure walking into Friday we were never doing this again. And then Friday morning rolled around and people started showing up and they were really excited about it and people were loving their games. And by Saturday night, we were talking about plans for the next year.
How
And
quickly it changes.
Yeah.
It's really stressful. It definitely keeps me up at night. I'm sure the experience for Matt is exactly the same. It's a ton of work. And I mean, we have to thank a lot of people even now, but like Matt's partner, Kathleen, who has no connection to the War Machine community other than being Matt's partner, give us a huge amount of help setting up our new registration software, helping deal with some of the IT things that were not easy for us. And just because of like the way that the timing worked out for War Machine Weekend registration, she had to do that at a pretty urgent crunch time. So basically, Matt traveled to Buffalo to spend time with his fiance and ended up working on the Southern Ontario Open for
Dedication.
and that's the kind of thing that is a huge sacrifice, and
Yep.
we've readily made it because this is a community that we love and an amazing part of the world. But it's not easy, and the sacrifices are not small, and it's a lot of late nights and it's a lot of hard work. And last year at the Southern Ontario Open, I worked, like stood in one spot, took a problem from a person, gave it to someone else to solve, nonstop for 17 hours a day.
Wow.
And then ran slightly less demanding, but not entirely undemanding work for about another 5 hours of that day. Went up to a hotel, slept for 3 hours, had a coffee, came back down, did it again. And I did that for 4 days. And that's the kind of demand that it has on somebody being right in the front there. And I think Matt slept for maybe 2 more hours over the course of the weekend.
Pretty much.
And like that's like Agatha was right there doing the same thing. And like that's the level of commitment it takes. And that is to say nothing. Like that's just this is what it takes to make sure the convention fires all weekend. We had a team of almost 30 really amazing volunteers helping us with the event last year.
Didn't Brent work the Iron Arena desk for like a day straight or something like that?
Yeah, Brent worked the Iron Arena desk for the better part of an entire day.
When-
And Brent has already stepped up volunteering to work for more stuff this year. Like, and we have extremely passionate people, and it's a delicate balancing act of just about jumping off a bridge until every once in a while you meet someone on that bridge who loves it as much and works as hard as you are and just gives you a hand and helps you right back off it. It's not easy. It's no part of this is easy, but things worth doing rarely are.
Well, I will say for all of us who did attend, it was an amazing event, and there's a lot of us who are really looking forward to it happening again, and we really appreciate the work. I actually spelled Brent off at, I think it was 3 a.m. on Sunday morning, I guess it would have technically been, when he finally, I think his head was hitting the keyboard too much. and I had finished running, I think it was Speed Machine, and I said, and he's like, "Can you do this?" And I'm like, "Yes, go sleep, please."
The man is a hard worker.
Yep.
He also has 3 amazing kids who all play War Machine.
Nice.
And they each had a room key, and they just came down all weekend playing War Machine and just grinded out the Iron Arena games. It's a
is
treat
awesome.
to see a part of the community like that.
Yeah, that was amazing. So, if you had to pick one event at SOO, one thing that somebody steps into your place and just takes over the con, and you get to play one event, what is that event?
We might have different answers here.
Yeah, definitely.
It's the Southern Ontario Open, and the Open is the Masters. There's no qualifying tournaments. It's a huge event. It's almost it's, I think, soft capped at 128 players, and it's long and it's grinding, but it is an amazing experience. I would probably play the premier event of the SOO.
So you do the Masters. Matt, what would you do?
Probably the Masters, but a very, very close second is the Iron Gauntlet, because I've participated in a few events of those and just enjoy the format. Although last year I did manage to get tagged out for a little bit and played some very drunken Speed Machines, so that was awesome.
I played in Speed Machine as well for I think 2 or 3 rounds before collapsing. And the first round of Speed Machine against one of our local players, Earl, who is an absolutely amazing dude, and at the time was a little newer to the game, and I was very tired and just shotgun 3 beers, picked up someone else's army and jumped into that game, and I just told him what was happening. I'm like, 6 damage to your 4, 6 damage to your 5, 4 damage. The Argus is dead. Remove the Argus. Look at his cards. Look at his stats. Just told him what was happening, which is probably an intimidating amount of knowledge to just slam in someone's face, but he had an amazing time and still talks about that game. So Speed Machine is another, it's one that I may actually get to tag out for.
Awesome. You've already mentioned some of the amazing swag. So we're gonna have to wrap things up. We're getting to our time. But so for those people that you spoke of that register the week of, where can they get tickets?
As far as I know, there should still be tickets available on the website.
Okay.
SOO-WMH.com. Southern Ontario Open War Machine Hordes.
Mm-hmm.
We should be able to take cash payments in person. Other than that, I mean, we would greatly prefer that you register electronically, because it gives us better ideas for our numbers of how many, if we don't want to put out 64 tables when we only need to put out 50 or something like that.
Right.
So, and similarly, we don't want to put out an Iron Arena and then have 20 people always waiting around for a game. Like, we want to be able to know sort of what we need so that we can make things better for the people coming. And a more accurate head count definitely helps with that.
Perfect. So the best thing is to go to Southern Ontario Open-WMH.
SOO-WMH.
Oh, SOO.
7characters.com. You can access it if you follow us on Facebook, our facebook.com/Southern Ontario Open page. That's the website linked in our website section. If you search Southern Ontario Open, you're going to find a golf event, but then you'll find us.
Been there, done that.
Yeah. So I'll just give a quick update from the third leg of the stool. Aggie Face has just let me know that it's WMH-SOO.com, not the other way around.
Yeah, me too.
So WMH-SOO, and because this is a live stream, we'll just edit that. Oh
No, that's live stream. But in the video on demand on the VODs on YouTube, we'll put a link down below. And everybody in the Twitch chat already has been updated by Aggie. So.
Right, because Agatha does everything that we fuck up on.
Yeah.
That's why she's on our team, guys.
That's what Aggie does.
She covers the ass.
She fixes the problem. Yeah, sometimes we share a mind, and fortunately, Agatha has one of her own.
Which is amazing. All right. So I just want to thank you guys for coming on. It was amazing to have you on. Yep. I'm really excited to see you guys in, as you said, it's like a week now for some of us who will be there a little bit early.
A week and 2 days?
A week and 2 days or something. Yeah. Are you scared? Are you sweating now?
Is it pee pants time?
Yeah. Bring me the brown pants. Okay, so other than the Southern Ontario Open, are there any events in your area that you want to highlight?
Everyone should just come to the city and don't worry about what we're doing for New Year.
All right.
There's a couple of great events, and we've actually got some pretty good people organizing stuff. One of the things, if anyone's a Hamilton local or thinks this is a cool idea and wants to do it on their own, Black Knight Games is starting their Call to Arms for War Machine, which is a big, major 3.5-month-long painting challenge that anyone can participate in. Basically, you start from 0 painted models in a 50-point army to 100% fully painted by the end of it. And during the course of it, we have a number of fully painted events that we run almost every week for the better part of 3.5 months. So that should be really cool, and it's a good opportunity. If you see a cool army you're excited about at the zoo and you're like, I want to do that, it's a great opportunity to do so. And if anyone wants to follow along at home and wants to just take pictures of their fully painted army, Black Knight Games has a BKG War Machine group on Facebook where we're doing a lot of that. So it's a cool pledge, it's a cool league, and it's also a really good opportunity to kind of learn a new list if you're keen.
Right.
That sounds really cool. We didn't talk about that. Is there going to be a painting contest at the Sioux?
Yes, we're going to have several categories for painting, and we will be awarding painting sort of trophies to those people. We'll have a large model cart category, a unit category. There will be a best painted awarded both in the Iron Gauntlet and in the Masters event. Those awards will only be eligible for people in the Masters who have all of their 2 lists plus whatever ADR they're using fully painted. So if you've got a gorgeous army and Gudrun the Wanderer is unpainted, but he's in your ADR, fix that or cut Gudrun the Wanderer from your... Anyway, not important. But, that's an option. We also, I said large model, I said unit, single model. So those are the categories for the sort of ongoing painted contest that'll occur during the weekend that we'll have people voting on.
Perfect. Okay, great. So I'll just highlight a couple of the things that are happening locally here. April 10th, which is this weekend, I think. On Sunday, we've got a 35-point, what we call a friendly tournament at FDB. There are no, it's just 35-point, 1 or 2 lists. There's no DNC. All of the prizes will actually be draws. So just come out, bring armies, have fun. I think it's a $10 entry fee, and hopefully you'll go home with something fun. Next is obviously the Southern Ontario Open. So everybody should just be going to that. So just block that weekend off.
Yeah. And probably a week afterwards.
Yeah, I know I'm taking Monday off. Yeah. And we also have an escalating threat tournament April 23rd where you start off at a 35-point and then you play your way up to a 50-point army.
Oh, to a 50-point, okay.
Yeah, so that's going to be a lot of fun. We have Company of Iron and a Journeyman League going on right now. So for anybody in the local area, there's lots of stuff to do. We always try and keep you busy. So once again, I want to get last words from Maelstrom.
Last words.
Tim?
Wait, I thought he had the last words. Well,
Yeah, no, yeah.
No,
we
you
can't
each-
all have
you
last
each get
words,
a
can
set.
we?
Yeah.
Oh.
Wait,
Tim's
yeah.
last
Well, I
words.
want to change my last words. No, I don't. They're good.
Okay? Those are good last words.
And Matt, what are yours?
I thought his A2 Brute was pretty great.
Alrighty, so
Well,
thank
what
you.
are your last words?
My last words
Thank you.
are thank you everybody for joining us on Moose Machine, and we will see you
Next
all
week?
at the Southern
Is Mift
Ontario Open.
Is Mift going to be back
I
next
think
week?
Mift is actually back next week. We're looking at actually a round table of people going to the Southern Ontario Open and figuring out what their secret tech is, what they're going to be doing, and what kind of list they're bringing. It
We
should
should
be
probably
amazing.
mention that we're going to be streaming from the Southern
Oh
Ontario
yeah,
Open
we,
as well.
we are doing a little thing. So we will be streaming 24 hours a day.
Yeah, for better or worse.
Better or worse, for probably 3 days.
Yeah.
We will be streaming the Masters, the finals, the IG Masters. We'll be streaming some overnight games, maybe
Yeah.
some Speed Machine. We're going to do some special events. We're going to do a live podcast at the SOO. We're going to try and get some people. I've heard that the King of the North might join us for some streaming. I have.
Sweet.
There may be some other podcasters who will show up. And we're hoping to get a lot of fun and wonderful content out for you guys.
Yep.
We're also going to do the lightning round live.
Yes,
So
we
that
are.
should be a lot of fun. I'm
Yep.
going to have to beat up Richardson about getting us a whole bunch of questions for those days. So I hope to see everybody there. And
For those watching at home, just stay in your pajamas for 3 days, sit on the couch.
sit on
and
the couch, put our
Twitch
stream
up on the TV.
and just enjoy yourself. All right. Thanks, everybody. And we'll see you next week.
Dice down! Moose Machine and This Death Clock Has 60 Minutes is a proud part of the Muse on Minis network. Podcasts go online every Thursday morning. You can watch the show live every Wednesday night at 8 p.m. Eastern on Twitch and keep in touch with us on our Facebook page. Just Google Moose Machine. If you can't find us, you're doing the internet wrong.